So let's talk about your long-awaited brand new record, Walking Through These Blues. Am I correct that the record was basically finished in maybe like 2020, but then kind of COVID changed things, but in this case, possibly for the better?
Yes, it wasn't. It was close. It wasn't finished, but it was well on its way. Um, and then COVID hit. Um, and when I was doing it, I didn't have a label at that point. So that's one thing that changed. So COVID hit. So two, one, I couldn't get people in the studio at that point, and I could still work on it. And two, no one was playing. And for an artist like me, of my stature, which is I'm not the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones put out a record, people are gonna buy it. But if I put out a record, I got to go play, and people go see me, and oh, I'd like to hear your record.
So promotion was obviously hindered.
Completely. There was nowhere to really promote it. So I was like, put the brakes on in terms of releasing it anywhere, trying to find a label at the time. So it gave me this great cushion of time to keep writing, get rid of what I didn't want, add, keep recording, keep mixing. So at that point, I didn't have Crosby on it. I didn't have Glenn Phillips on it from Toad the Wet Sprocket. That happened even later. So I just kept working on it. So it started to be done right when COVID was enough of in enough of a slump to allow people to start playing again. But right then, Immediate Family put on a record. So I was like, okay, put the brakes on this one more time. I'm not going to, same label, they signed me, Cordo Valley Records. So we'll wait. So finally, we had a break in between. The next Immediate Family record won't be out until next year. Perfect timing. I finished it, but I got to remix it again. And, hopefully you keep getting better. So I feel my years, over the 4 years I had this record in the can, I got better at it.
How did the journey for this record start originally? I mean, it's got a compelling album title, so I was wondering if there was any through line in the beginning, or if a through line really didn't emerge until later.
For me, I still adhere to what I was inspired by. So I was inspired by, of course, the Beatles and a lot of stuff after that, where you made music and you created music, and the theme is wherever you're at in your life at that time. That's the theme. It's not something that is sort of implanted on the album. It's going to be about this, or it's going to be. It's not. So I write, and when I have enough songs, and the time is right, I make a record. I'm very fortunate that now I have a studio, and I'm pretty facile in the studio. I know my way around it, so I can record whenever I want. I just wrote a song this weekend with Glenn Phillips, and really cool song, and we'll just record it just because we can here. We'll bring in a rhythm section, and we'll record that and either release it as a single, or who knows.
How did your collaboration with Glenn come about, and what kind of sealed its inclusion in the record?
We had a mutual friend who passed away since, and there was a guy named Alan Kozlowski who used to own a big post-production, the biggest post-production facility in LA, and he was one of those guys, he knew everybody. He was friend. That's how I met Jackson Brown. That's how I met Jeff Bridges. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet his friend George Harrison, but so he was his tentacles went out to a lot of different areas, and we became really good friends. So for his 70th birthday, he had a big event that I helped put together, and a lot of his friends played. Jeff played, Kenny Loggins played, I can't remember everyone who was there. I played, and Glenn Phillips played. And we had never met each other, and we just kind of had a nice rapport. It was one of those things, and casually said, we should write together sometime. I heard his music, he heard mine, so we should probably write. And that usually doesn't lead to anything. It's kind of something you kind of say. But we did. and it was effortless. And when the record was taking so long to put out, and when I got when Quarter Valley signed me, I went, I've got a new song, and I should finish it. So I finished it and put it on, and it came out wonderfully. And then, so when we ran into each other, we both played this. There was a tribute to David Crosby with the Santa Barbara Symphony. What I played a couple of weeks ago at the Granada Theater. And Glenn was one of the featured artists. I was one of the featured artists. And so we ran into each other again. And same thing. We should write something. So I'm in town next weekend. And we're very fast. I will say both songs we wrote in a day.
Did you have any songs that on the new album that really kind of surprised you once you finished recording them with how they turned out? I mean, I know a lot of these songs had years and years for you to kind of tinker with them.
Well, the one that you mentioned, When the Lights Go Out, the textures on that, what everybody played, it's very fulfilling to me to hear it. There's Alphonso Johnson, just fabulous bass player, played with Weather Report and Santana. He's an amazing bass player. Has this beautiful linear playing on that song. And this great guitar player from New York who was in town. When I hear that piece, and then of course Crosby's voice, Mark Schulman is this amazing guitar player that I knew from New York, and he has this he was the original player with Luca, whoever did that, or whatever her name is. So it's just as a piece of music, as a composed piece of music, I just love the way that sounds.
I was going over some other interviews that you had, and if I recall correctly, you said something along the lines that your new album is old but doesn't sound old, and that may be what makes it old or classic is the methodology and other things behind it, and the making of it. Were you conscious of how different what you were making was to the norm? Was that intentional, or did that happen by happy accident?
No, it's how I make music. I can make music in a more, a lot of contemporary music is made in little pieces and then they put all together like it's a puzzle. And I've watched it happen. I've worked with some in the studio with some pop, even in here with some pop, top 40 artists. And they all make music the way we make music. It's not linear. Yeah. It's not a story that has an arc. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't appeal to me. It's sort of, for me, it's paint by numbers.
Combination is sound bites.
Yeah, it is. And it literally is sound bites. Like, I was a fly on the wall. A friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but big pop songwriter. They were in LA and the studio got double booked, and she called me and the whole team is there. The producer, the mother, the young artist, the record company, the engineer. So they're sitting at the door of the studio and they can't go in. She's like, "Can we come to your studio? It's like an emergency, like right now." And, yeah, sure. So I watched what they did for a while because it was interesting. And they're literally say, I like the sound on that Sabrina Carpenter record. This was before that, but
yeah,
that sound, what's that sound? And then they play and they go, "Oh yeah." And then they make that sound and they put it in there. And, it's not creative in the way that I respond to. It's not poetic. That's what I should say. It's creative, but it's more mechanical and it's not that poetic. So that's, I make music that way. For me, it's not to keep mentioning the old music, but I don't think what I like to do is a big stretch from what Bach did. And Vivaldi, the music that I love in classical music, it's trying to create melodies and harmony and counterpoint and a trajectory and a rise and a fall and tell a story musically. And of course in pop music with the lyrics, lyrics to me, it's poetry. It's not whatever they're doing now. It's colloquial sort of street talk, a lot of it. And that's, again, fine. It's just not what particularly moves me. It's not what inspires me. So So I make music that way. It's not contrived. I'm not trying to make music as a certain way. That's how when I'm writing songs. If I'm doing a film score or something, there's some other things, but still the core thing is the same. It's like inspiration.
So to wrap up, you've just done so much in the music world. I'm wondering, as you kind of look back on all the people you've worked with and music you've made, is there some big music memory that you'll always remember? Something, it could be anything, impactful, funny, ridiculous, whatever it is. Is there something that comes to mind that is worthy of sharing with people who maybe haven't heard that story before?
I'll tell you one that was a real surprise that stays with me is I was playing in Aspen, Colorado on New Year's Eve in I want to say 1999 or something. And Buddy Miles was in Aspen. He came, and to play them changes with Buddy Miles, it was have him sing, "Well, my mind is going." There he is on the drums, and this big guy. That kind of blew my mind, And then he wanted to sing a James Taylor song, came up front, and we played. So that was very special, just because that Band of Gypsies record was so huge for me, and to be actually hearing that and be on stage playing that guitar part, which I've known since I was 13. That was a cool. I mean, there's been many moments. I've been lucky, and I've had the moment when Glenn Fry's playing with me, or this one, that one. It's just the first time Kenny and I played together. He's playing Danny's song and singing that. We're singing the harmony, and I'm just like, I've known this song my whole life, and first time I played with Jackson, they're all special moments. So I think that it's hard to pick one. I just remember that the Buddy Miles one was pretty substantial.
That's so cool. So what can our audience expect from you over the next few months and the rest of the year?
I'll be doing another short tour with this band that came out of the Crosby Band called Our House, which is the music of CSNY. And we're going to New York, DC, Pennsylvania, Boston, that Connecticut. We're doing a short run in August. That's a really fun project. And then just continuing to promote my record, and I'm going out to Colorado to play some gigs for my, we're always working. So, I'll be around.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to talk to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Postell.